basically first about the challenge that we faced during the process, the proposed solution, how we tackle this problem, how we are moving forward. We're gonna have hands-on, where we're gonna share like the nucleus about this decoupling architecture and how we're implementing that. And at the end of the day, we're gonna show to you like the main benefits and the trade-offs that we have been seeing for this solution specifically. And we are open to talk about other similar trade-offs and benefits for decoupling as well. Moving forward, just doing a quick introduction. My name is Luis Ribeiro. I'm principal architect for CNT, working and designing enterprise solutions for digital and open source area for the last 15 years. I have expertise. I work in several projects, but I can tell you that last couple of years I've been working mostly in digital experience platforms, e-commerce, CMS, overall DevOps, and cloud solution. But I worked a little bit with everything, with IT and focus on open source most recently. And we have Renato as well. Renato is our senior engineer. He's been programming open source technology as well for a long time. He's a specialist in Drupal, and that's why he's here. It's like most part of this decoupling piece was done in Drupal. And Renato, for instance, was awarded in 2018 with the top contributor globally, and he has like a heavily contribution. It's part of his daily basis. So yeah, he will be doing like the hands-on as well. Okay, moving forward. So we work for CNT. CNT is a global digital agency with up to 3,000 employees around the globe. So we have like several types of roles, like among strategists, designer, developers, architects, and engineers focused on solution for enterprise clients. So we have among our clients like 500 brands on Fortune, like big clients, enterprise clients. So we work with different flavors from technology and solutions, and of course problems. We have a global presence, so our headquarters is in Brazil, but we have offices around like global, like USA, Canada, Europe, Latin, and Asia. We have like tight partnership, like technology partnership with huge players, among them, of course, Adobe, Acquia, Google, SAP, Generating, you name it. So we have like a lot of partnerships as well in this area, and we have been growing pretty consistently on the last years, and our retention rate it's up by more than 90%. It's closer to 100%, which means it's common for us to have like employees for CNT working for more than 10 years at a company. All right, moving forward. Let's talk about the challenge. What challenge like raises to bring this problem over the table? So we're working in one of our clients with an enterprise solution, and it was designed in 2015. Among all other functionalities, we have a lot of challenges on the platform, but if we can highlight some of them, like we have a B2B e-commerce, so we have learning, marketing material, order billing process, of course. We have sales rep area, which is a huge bunch of our solution. Single sign-on, well, we started with a single sign-on tied with the corporation that we were developing, but then we start growing with different kind of single sign-on and start to receive new technologies integration from the enterprise scope, from the landscape. To have an idea, this platform right now, it's installed and landed in more than 39 countries. We're going to 40 to 45 right now, and the first country was launched in 2016. We started in 15, and we launched the first release in 15. So this platform is live since then, and then recently we had a few challenges, and mostly they were triggered because the nucleus and the core of this platform was done in Drupal, because at the beginning we had only like the CMS piece, e-commerce piece, and then we decided from a design perspective we could create middleware that we got integrated with the main players over there. But then the platform started to grow, and then recently we have a challenge that tie us to define a new era and how we're gonna tackle that and approach that. All right, moving forward, the next slide. So we had, of course, technical challenge. I'm going to discuss about it, but let's start with the business challenge. Like when the business came to us and we brought like the Drupal 7 end of life, as Drupal 7 is a huge part of the platform at the time. So the challenge is, how can we migrate that for a new version with Drupal or without Drupal? But how can we avoid to pass through the entire process to define if it's worth it or not to keep the platform, migrate the platform, or throw everything away and start in a greenfield, start a new process. So that was one challenge. How can we avoid to have like this huge portion of the platform in one unique technology, and if we have to do it, how we can speed up the process. Second challenge was enterprise architecture. Of course, as the platform grew consistently, we have to tie and connect with different players, different architecture inside the corporation, outside of the corporation as well. So they asked us to put a design on table that will make that life easier and make us like to do in a faster and most reliable way. Return of investment and the last one, components reusability. They're tied, but they were requested pretty straight. Like, how can we invest in something that will last longer than what we have for now? It is a long time, 15 to now, but they want to achieve something that they do not have to change the entire game because of one technology. And of course, try to focus to reusable components, because not only one area that's going to use it, we're going to have every time like different areas requesting and at least evaluating if the platform can attend that or not. All right, moving to what is the current situation and what we are proposing. Renato, can you move to the next slide? So in a nutshell, of course, this is not too detailed, but on the left side, you have the current like minimized architecture scope. Like the blue part is the most part of the architecture, which is Drupal, basically a backend, the front end, and a little small pieces of the middle architecture were all designed and tied at the Drupal side. It is working, it is moving forward, and it is evolving. But if we had to migrate to Drupal 8, for instance, then we're gonna have to redo a lot of work. And of course, we're gonna have to keep like the enterprise architecture doing the same job in the same way, or evolve a little bit this piece. So our proposed design here, first piece of everything is let's make the platform more flexible. How we can do that? We can start to think more in microservice. We can start to think more in API gateways. We can start to think more in decoupling the front end and the back end. First, tell me why we're gonna decouple. What are we gonna lose? What are we gonna win? Well, first analysis here is are we aiming the platform only for web or for different like players or different systems? And the answer was quick, like different systems, of course. So then decoupling is the best thing to do because you can reuse part of the backend and trigger like the gateway to control the front end. Also, there's a huge project and process evolving the front end components among this client. So they're heavily building components in Vue.js and also in React. So we try to tie the design and try to understand how we can reuse that. So the proposal was to work from the left to the right. Of course, we have a lot of pieces to put together. We are in the middle of the process. But first step to moving forward was decoupling the back end and the front end. And the decision at the time was to keep the back end from Drupal for now, evolve from Drupal 8 the minimum and the core functionalities that we need, but to remove the middleware portion from Drupal and create microservices in different languages to make it more flexible and not focus on one unique platform. But everything that was CMS and Drupal had out of the box and was working fine, we're gonna keep in that way. The only thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna create like an API version of Drupal headless, connect with API gateway, and then leverage whatever we want in a smoothly way. Then we can apply reliability, security, and a lot of things on top of that. And then we have other pieces which we can increase monitoring. We can isolate all the pieces and work better on the platform growth and use of our investment. So in a nutshell, those were the challenge and how we tie and propose this solution overall. Renato will start to tackling now how we are doing details and the challenge that we have for the front end piece and how we're decoupling the front end and the back end. And then I'm gonna get back in then to show you what are the benefits and the trade-offs that we're having so far. All right, Renato, it's up to you, man.
Okay, can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so let's get started, the hands-on part. So hello everyone, Renato here. Well, to start, there is a main questions for this case. And the main question is it possible? So about the possibility to create a real application using this approach. So using Drupal in the backend with JSON API, for example, and use another different JavaScript framework to front end. So spoiler alerts, yes, it's possible. So yes, you will, and yes, we can, and we will. So, okay, so it's possible, we can, we will, but how? This is the question for now. And well, of course, we will use JSON API with Vue.js on our case. And when you start the application, according to Dries, you need to define if you will use a decoupled approach or a traditional approach, as Luis told you. In the normal case, there is a Drupal here with a PHP language in the backend side and another different technology to front end side. So for example, in Drupal 7, there is a PHP, so with TPL file, and Drupal 8 and Drupal 9, there is a Twig file. So you can use that. But in our case, we will use the second approach here. So Drupal with PHP in the backend with Symfony and JSON API on this part to send all information using JSON. And after that, a decoupled app using Vue.js to construct the front-end layer, okay? Well, so that's it. This is our flow. So there is a Drupal here. So basically, Drupal will send all information using JSON, and Vue.js application will receive this information and create web pages. Okay, this is fine, but we are using Vue.js on just example, but this is not the most important part because you can choose your favorite JavaScript framework. So you can use, for example, Gatsby or AngularJS, React, and many other JavaScript framework, okay?
Well, let me stop you 1 second here, just to have an idea.
Okay.
When we were developing this POC, we did like actually executed the POC in all those technologies, and we had at the time like one backend connecting and interacting with Gatsby, Angular, React, and Vue.js. We just didn't have with iOS, but we had examples that we had in iOS as well, which proved at the time that was okay, was fine, was flexible, and that was the first go ahead for us. Okay, let's move forward. Like that's a great example. We can start to detach and control like the madness about this detachment for this kind of gigantic application. Yeah, go ahead, Renato.
Yes, good catch. Thanks. Well, so let's get started. So this is our application with Drupal 8 and the front-end side. There is a password here, so it's free to access it. But now let's get this part. I will organize here. That's okay, it's fine. So this is our Drupal. We are using Drupal 8 for now with JSON API included in core. In our real website, we are using Contenta CMS, so it's a distribution with a lot of modules included by default. But on this case, we are using only JSON API. So for this reason, we are using Drupal core only, okay? So this is our Drupal. Let's check here. So there are many different examples here. So for example, many content here with houses. That's okay. And this is our front-end application created with Vue.js. So on home here, there are different technologies used on. We can see here all homes here, and we can click here, for example, to see more. That's okay with the content. Just as example, in developers, there are Drupal users here and about as well. There are all Drupal users here. Okay, so that's fine. This is our application, but now let's check the JSON API part. Probably you know, JSON API use a specific syntax on URL. So for example, JSON API here, it's a prefix, entity name here. So for example, taxonomy term, And after that, requirements, so our machine name for our taxonomy term. So the same approach is used for nodes, for example, so JSON API as prefix, node as entity, and products by it's the content type. Okay, so the same approach for a specific node by ID. So for example, JSON API, node products, and universal unique ID, so WUID here. That's okay, it works well. So let's check an example here. So let's copy here. I will copy. And on this case, JSON API as prefix, and after that, taxonomy terms, requirements. So that's okay. This is our requirements. We can check here in home, all requirements. And we can check here, structure, taxonomy, requirements. Okay, that's it. So all requirements, it's here, for example, Drupal 8. So let's check here. Drupal 8, that's here. So MySQL, that's here, and VueJSThe, that's here, okay? After that, we can show all taxonomies here. So let's check the code right now. So let's check here. Just to show you, this is our Vue.js application. It's not so important because you can use many other applications, but this is our example of application. And this is our .env file with our Drupal URL here. So that's okay. And now this is our code. So on views, src views, we can check, for example, home. So this is a component, specific component for Vue called the single file component. So on this case, we can check here. Let's close this part. That's okay. Let's check here. Template and script and style part. All items in the same file. So it's the single file component. That's okay. We can check here JSON API, taxonomy term, requirements. So this code will request this JSON API endpoint and create the final page to end users. Okay. So let's check here the second example. So the second endpoint, JSON API, node products. So let's check like that. That's perfect. All products, it's here. Let's check another. So JSON API, node products, and ID, universal unique ID. That's here. So it works as well. And the last one about users. So JSON API / users, user. So let's check it. That's okay. So it works well. Okay. So let's check now some examples. So some tasks just to exemplify, to create some examples here. So let's add a new term here. So add a new taxonomy. So node npm. So this technology is not listed here. So let's add node npm, and after that, let's save each. That's okay. So created. Let's refresh this endpoint right now. Okay, so node npm, that's okay, it's here. So of course, if we refresh this page, there is a new technology here, okay? So the second task, let's add a new user. So Drupal user, add. So let's check, I don't know, Drupal user, couple days at gmail.com. So Drupal user is our username. So password and repeat password. Okay, so administrator, developer, I will choose a picture here just to feel better in the front end. So user picture, that's it. So that's okay, it's loading, that's okay. So first name, Drupal user, okay, so perfect. Let's create an account here, that's okay. So now let's check the endpoint here. So let's refresh this page just to confirm. Drupal user, so it's here. That's okay. If we refresh this page, developers, that's fine. There is a new user here, and about as well, Drupal user. Okay. Now let's check the next task. Add a new product. So add a New York house. So new content. So on this case, it's basic as well. So add content product. Let's add a new new home here, new house. That's okay. So create an account. So New York house. So that's okay. Let's copy content here. I don't know, like that. Perfect. And let's choose a picture as well, just to feel better in the front end. New York house. Phone here. I will create a basic phone and a price. That's okay. Alternative text, New York house. Perfect. Let's save it. That's perfect. So there is a new house in our Drupal front-end side. So, okay, but let's check it now in JSON API. So let's check here, node products. So New York house, that's okay, it's here. So there is a ID here. Let's just confirm here. This is the universal unique ID. So let's copy each and let's paste here, just to confirm. So that's okay, it's available on Drupal JSON API. Now, if we refresh this page, so that's okay, it worked. So there is a new house here. So we can click on see more to see more details, and it's okay, it works well. Okay, but now let's check the next task. So add a zip code. So on this case, we need to include a new item here. So with zip code value, okay? We can do that. So on this case, we need to update the Drupal content and the structure of content type, of course. And after that, update the VueJS code as well. So let's do that. So structure, first case, content type, products, manage fields. Let's add a basic field here. So I don't know if a text, a plain text, that's okay for us. So zip code. Zip code, save and continue. Zip code test. Zip code test, that's okay, just one. Save field. Okay, I will use this field as optional field. So saving settings, that's okay. So we created the new field. Now let's update our New York house with this field. So let's edit here. And zip code, I will get zip code here. That's it. And update here. So that's okay. Let's save each. That's fine. Now let's check here in JSON API this new field. So I will refresh this page. So zip code test, that's here. So that's okay. But now, if we refresh this page, it will not work for now. And really makes sense because we need to update the code in VueJS. Okay, so let's do this. So this is our next task. So add zip code on VueJS. Okay, so let's go to the code. So home, we can check here. So product info. That's okay. So this is our code. Okay, so let's use this part of the code. This part of the code is this part here. Okay, so let's add a li. So I will use a class here just to feel better in the front end as well. So let's group item. Okay, and after that, I will use a zip code. And that's okay. I will use that. And that's okay. Let's use the same approach of this. So product data dot attributes, and we need to get now the machine name of zip code. So let's check here. This is our machine name. So that's it. So I think that's okay. So let's refresh now this page here. That's okay. So it worked for us. Okay, but there is a bug on this code. Why? If we check here, there is another house, a different house without the zip code value. So we can check here. So for example, Chicago house. So for Chicago house, there is no zip code here, but there is a zip code label here. So it's a empty empty label. So we can remove that. So this is our next task. So fix product without zip code. Okay, and after that, use VueIF to do it. Okay, so let's do it right now. So we can use the VueIF. VueIF, it's a property for Vue.js. So we can check like that. It's very similar with Angular. So using this property here, oh, sorry, I need to remove it. If that's okay. If we use this feature, this line will appear only if this value is true, okay? So we can check that. So let's insert here. And after that, let's refresh this page. And that's okay. So it works as well. Okay, so, but if we check this, so let's refresh this page, it works, okay? Because there is a zip code here, and there is not a zip code for this case, and there is not a label as well, okay? Well, so that, now let's talk about the technical challenges on this case to create the real application using this approach. So the first one was some problems in Drupal community without support, for example. Okay, so the first one here is about translation. Why? Guys, by default, Drupal doesn't have support to export translations from backend to front-end side. So this is our first problem. The second one is linked because it's not possible to export all Drupal translatable strings, for example, to front end. And the last one, but not least, export configs to front end. So for example, in your Drupal, there is a specific configuration to carousel speed with 10 milliseconds, for example, or 10 seconds, I don't know. There is no, by default, a specific way to export this configuration to Vue.js. So it was a problem for us, okay? And the front end here, it's about the hosting support, because by default in our plan using Acquia, our host plan, we don't have support to Node. So for this reason, we use another hosting using Platform SH with Node support, and that's okay for us. Another possibility is talk to Acquia to create some upgrades in Acquia plan to support Node. So it's another possibility. But we are using only, in our case, using only in development phase. It's okay using Platform SH. It isn't a problem for us. Okay. Well, so and about the solutions for this problem here. So, well, the first one was created a Drupal contribute project in the community. Okay, so the first one was string translation UI. With this module, after you install this module, will appear a new configuration item or configuration form in your Drupal like this. So you can insert all strings here with context if you want, and after that, click in Save Configuration. It will insert in Drupal translation interface without using the function in your code, for example. The second one is to export strings to JSON export. So, for example, like that. So after translate all strings in Drupal, you can export this using this JSON format. This format was used by Vue.js and React, for example. So you can translate all strings in Drupal, and after that, export all strings to use in front-end framework. Okay. Then last but not least, config export to JSON. It's another contribute project that we create in Drupal community. You can install this module, and after install this module, you can define an array like that with custom project. So your module, for example, in K1 here, you can search, for example, carousel speed, and after that, in value, you can set 10 seconds, for example. And after that, you can call Drupal services like that, and after that, Drupal will export a JSON like that. So we'll provide a route, and you can access this route and receive a JSON with carousel speed in 10 seconds as well. And you can use that in your JavaScript framework. So it works for us. Okay, well, so that's it. Luis, can you go?
Yes, sir, I can. So yeah, we are in the final part here. Thanks, Renato, for the explanation. Before we move forward with benefits and trade-offs, as you could see over there, we were able to still use like Drupal as a backend. And why we took that decision and never went to a different one? Well, first, because if you're trying to use a lot of administration portion, you have a lot of content editors and a lot of guys that will need like advanced functionalities. Drupal is still one of the best in class to do that. The thing that we're not working and we're not flexible enough at the time for the platform, and we were urging to evolve, was the front end part. But then again, with the content, we were able to just isolate that and start to migrate to a most advanced approach. For instance, we're tying the most critical functionalities for now, and we are redoing a little bit of things that are Drupal already handled by default among team and backend. But mostly we're giving flexibility to use different technology. But in the same way, we're able to like keep like core modules and just upgrade to the most modern version, which was pretty handy if you're trying to reduce lead time and do things faster. Things that worked for us. What were the benefits so far? After we structured this first piece, which was the decoupled part, any service now that we isolated could be replaced with a reduced effort, including Drupal. In the future, if we believe that Drupal is not the case, we're gonna use OpenStack, Sitecore, or whatever. You of course gonna have to do a redesign for it. But if we compare this migration from now on, with what we're having to do now, it will be a smaller portion. So that's one huge benefit. And of course, we're removing some pieces that we believe that will not be able to stay in Drupal anymore. Drupal could handle, but won't be the best fit for it. And we're creating different and isolated microservices for that. And those pieces can be replaced as well. We can use different frameworks and technologies. So as example here, we started VueJS, like we can replace for any front end that we want. If Drupal needs to be removed, we can choose that. So that is another point of flexibility. Easy to migrate. One thing happened at the beginning to the end. So we started with VueJS, and our client asked us, look, let's transition that to React. And we're already developing like part of this solution. Of course, we have to reduce some adjustments. We have to adjust like the course, but the amount of work was really low compared if we had to change everything. We could adjust that in a couple of days and get back on track. We were using VueJS with I forgot the framework. I just remember right now, and then we changed it to React. Next and Next. We were using Vue.js with Next, and then we changed to Next. That's it. So, omnichannel possibilities. Now this solution can leverage the same content to different channels. We are planning to deliver on mobile as well. We're already delivering in other services that they're using, like for instance the single sign. Which was handled by Drupal, and we're leveraging the authentication already there. Future usability, of course, everything that you're doing on the back end, and you don't need to rebuild the admin part or any functionality. You can leverage over there and just externalize using the gateway API. Performance on the front end, we could improve in a heavily way everything that we could isolate as static content. And infrastructure flexibility. To have an idea, when we started to design that, the entire platform was installed in one host, but at the time this host didn't have like easy way to go to host just the front end. You have to invest a lot of money. You will have a lot of challenge over there. So the client asked to put the front end, if it was possible to put the front end in a different host. right now the solution has like the backend in one host and the front end in another one. So another piece that wasn't easy to achieve or almost impossible in the older architecture. We have several trade-offs, of course, that are common in decoupling. So we had to redo, of course, a lot of security input sanitization. We have to redo functions that if you're using regular Drupal, they already tied the front end, and all those also security and reliability and performance pieces are already handled by default. But that was part of the decoupling item. And additional point of failure, of course, we had to increase like the monitoring parts, all the telemetry portion, and we need to tie it really good with the API gateway to make sure that we control it better. For now, that were the most critical issues. So we are expecting and tracking like regular decoupling issues, which basically goes around like you're gonna have to rebuild the wheel if you compare with a unique CMS that leverage everything for you. If we're gonna do a front end, you're gonna have to take care of not only functional requirement, but also with non-functional requirement and address that, and that's additional effort. But in the end of the day, like makes sense for the future roadmap. That's basically it. Thank you guys. We just finished a little bit early, but then the good part is that we have openings for questions. So that's it. That was it.
Thanks a lot.
And Gaurav, I get back to you. I don't know if you want me to see the questions and answer. You're gonna have that?
Yeah.
What's the dynamic here?
No, I think, yeah, go ahead. We have three questions right now in front of me.
Okay.
We have Maria question, so if you can see on the chat and respond to that.
Okay, let's
We
see
have more
here.
questions coming. Yep.
So first question here, then if I miss something, I can get back. What have you enjoyed more for the FE part, Vue.js or React? Honestly, I like it better like Vue.js because it was the first challenge we passed and we implemented was really good. React was more a client decisions to go. In a nutshell, from architecture point of view, I'll give my opinion and I'll let Renato give his opinion. From architecture point of view, design point of view, they're pretty similar. They give you the same challenge, the same benefits, and I just enjoy Vue better because it was the first challenge that we deliver in a good way. To do React was basically a migration for taxonomy and things like that. And honestly, I don't have preference here. But Renato, you put your hands on there more than me. So
yeah. Yes, I agree with you. In my opinion, a good point to use Vue.js it's the learning curve. So if you are new with both to learn Vue.js, it's faster. It's very, very easy to learn. And after that, you can create your first app in few days. So this is the good point for Vue.js. But in architecture mode, it's very, very similar. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great question. If you're looking towards to learn technology, goes with Vue.js. That would be our suggestion because it's easy. You can find the basics pretty fast. React is most used at the market, but Vue.js keep growing fast, so it doesn't matter. So you can leverage the same thing, same quality. Second one, how are you handling authentication? Are you leveraging simple wallet, Drupal level with token coming through API gateway or integrated with third party? We have a little bit of everything here. We have regular default authentication for Drupal for registration to create like the API for single sign-on. We have external single sign-on connecting basically everything that is isolated as a service and needs to be isolated. We create a microservice for that. Then we try to send everything to the API gateway to centralize. And if we can join them, like API gateway handle pretty much everything, token and API gateway will be the main source of truth for everything. But if we judge that I need or I should pass something directly to Drupal to any front end, I'm able to do as well. I let the architecture like handle that. One important point, this platform has some forks, which means I have the framework, I have the platform, and I can use the framework and leverage different platforms. There's a second fork of this platform. It's not being migrated now, but everything that we're doing, we're gonna be using when we migrate that as well. This platform has not only the single sign-on, but this platform is the identity provider as well, which means like you have the source of truth for all the data in the Salesforce, but Drupal using Simple SAML is the identity provider that leverage all the mechanisms and provide that. Probably when we reach this part, we might design that in a way that API Gateway will be the identity provider. For now, we didn't reach this part, but we have a little bit of everything. And API Gateway is supposed to be, and we try to design to be the main source of truth for tokens and everything. How do you deal with nested reference fields?
I can answer that. This case, for this POC, we are using JSON API include in the final of the URL, so it works as well. So I will show you. Can you see my screen? That's okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So let's check here. For example, we can use like that. I will check here. So section endpoints here like that. So we can, for this POC, we are using like that. So with this approach, we are using JSON API with include to include all fields inside of the request. So this it was used for this POC only as demonstration, but in our real case, real application, we are using a project called Content, a CMS, and in Content there is a specific feature called sub requests. Okay, so you can learn more about that, but it's basically sub requests. So, for example, you create a request for node, and inside of this node there is a block, and after that we can create a sub request for this block. And if there is more than one, you can create many sub requests and using it only in one time. Okay, but for a POC only, we are using JSON API include field. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
I was telling that Renato, if you can. At the beginning, we were using basically the engine to the question: what do you use to trigger the build process of the front end, and how long does it take? I was telling that Renato, I designed the first version, but I'm not sure right now what is the current solution for that. I remember that we were using Nux and we went to Next. Probably they are responsible to generate that, and the trigger is done basically when you commit the content in Vari. Like if you need to leverage like static content, then you generate using this engine. If you need to keep like interacting with dynamic content, then we don't trigger the front end. We just create like Ajax or whatever to reflect that, or even reactive components. But when we implement the first time, it will take like a couple of like milliseconds to generate the simple to medium complexity items. And then most complex items, even the word that were not dynamic, we have, if I can tell you, we have 3 different kind of content here, like purely static content that you can cache, leverage on CDN or directly, but then it's pretty fast. We have things that we can, it's a kind of dynamic, we leverage that and cache that every 5 minutes. For instance, we have product catalog, we have a lot of few items on the e-commerce part, and we have like pricing engine that's pretty straightforward. Then we have like an engine that it's abstract everything from SAP, and then we have a library for that. But that's it. Like I can tell you like pretty fast, like milliseconds for the static thing. We control everything else in like caching manner, like, and dynamic is dynamic.
Yes, exactly.
And then Renato, for you again, on your front end, do you save user variables like favorite buttons or similar? If so, do you send it back to Drupal or starting something else?
Okay, let me see. Can you repeat, please?
In your front end, do you save your variables like favorite buttons, similar, or any kind of variables that you have? If you save it, do you send it back to Drupal to start, or you save it to another place? So basically, where do you save variables, Drupal or any other place?
Okay, for this POC, we are using just JSON API. We are not create and save use variables in the front end. Yes, that's it.
Yeah, but for a design point of view, I can tell you, like if you in a decouple and a more microservice architecture like that, you can play with different things. Even if you want to save items on S3 or any other cloud bucket, you can do it. If you believe you can save something on Artifactory or something like that, you can do it. Depending on how much that will affect like the building process or the real-time process, and then depending which kind of application you have. Like if you have a platform, but in the end of the day, you need to generate just static content, you can play with that, like putting Gatsby in front of that and handling like in a most traditional architecture or more simpler architecture. But if you need something that will expand in a more flexible way in enterprise globally with different teams, then you start to think in different like artifactories and S3 or whatever you judge better. Or even Drupal. Drupal can handle that as long as you define the architecture to control the piece that you judge. It's important in this case.
Yes, yeah, and of course, for this case, we are not following this approach, but in real case, if you want, there is a possibility. You can do that. And my recommendation to do that is you can create a Drupal endpoint using REST UI, and you can create a specific endpoint to receive a JSON information. And after that, you can create your front-end application, send information to Drupal, and store this information in Drupal. So I think it's better because Drupal is a content management system. So in my opinion, it makes sense to store all information in Drupal side. But your front-end can send this information using JSON to Drupal, and Drupal will store it. Okay, so it's a possibility, of course. But on this case, we are not using. But if you want, you can do that.
All right, so checking the questions here. Kiran Kadam asked, yes, we can. Like he asked if we can share everything that was showed here. Yeah, absolutely. We already have project like publish it for you guys, and we'll make sure that we create like a repository for that in order to allow you to download and play like with what was presented here. Absolutely. And that was exactly the core that was used. Of course, we have a few changes and a few adjustments, but that was the main core that was used to handle the decouple piece of this B2B enterprise e-commerce part. Okay. And it's working pretty good. I think that's it. What was your motivation to JSON API over like GraphQL modules? Okay.
Can I answer that?
Absolutely. I can complete later, but yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Thanks, Luis. Well, our first motivation to use JSON API on this case, it's because Drupal was included in Drupal core by default. So it was a big conversation in Drupal community to use GraphQL or JSON API, but after many different conversation about that, the final decision was included JSON API for many different reasons. So there are more information about that in Greer's blog, so it's available to read about the final decision. And after that, we use the approach to use JSON API just because of that, because it's included in Drupal core. But you can use GraphQL as well if you want. So you can use JSON API, and for specific endpoints, you can use GraphQL if you want, okay? So you can use both. But in our case, in our POC, we are using just JSON API because it's included in Drupal core.
Okay, let me just complete this piece. Like Renato, as always, like gave you like the answer focused on Drupal because he loves Drupal. But let me give you an answer talking about architecture and how you define things like that in enterprise clients or gigantic clients like that. So every time that we analyze a solution, and in this case particular, you check like how often this change will need to be evolved, or how many players or how many clients or how many solutions you're gonna have to apply this item, and how this is gonna live in years from now to on. So we did an evaluation about from when we start to think in decoupling, should we keep using Drupal? Should we change it for OpenStack, can we use JSON API, GraphQL? Everything was put on the table. In a nutshell, from a functionality point of view, all of them were great. We chose Drupal because Drupal is still one of the best CMS and most complete CMS at the market, mainly talking about performance, flexibility, and the client at this time already had like all the players, developers, and the different vendors working that can support them, and they were comfortable with that. So we just keep at the discussion. We made like some performance analysis on GraphQL, Drupal with JSON API. They were pretty close, and then the decision was made just Drupal because the features that were available to Drupal and the way that Drupal is handling the governance from 8 to 9 and 10 will make us comfortable to isolate CMS and Drupal and keep moving forward with that. That's it. But I had cases in other clients that the decision was for GraphQL. One for the enterprise architecture, they want to use GraphQL, but then in a nutshell, it's exactly the same analysis that we do. If the framework is reliable, if the framework gives you the functional requirement, but also non-functional requirements, and how long you can sustain this investment. That's it.